Hello, my name is Robin Butterfield and I'm pleased to be today's trainer for this session on advanced media controls beyond play, pause, and rewind. Thank you very much for joining our new customer training webinar series. The goal of these webinars is to highlight features within the VPI Empower suite that allow you to take full advantage of all the functionality the tool offers you. Many of the features we will be demoing will aid you in increasing productivity, greater user effectiveness, and a general overall improved experience in the VPI application. To avoid interruptions during this webinar, all attendees have been placed in a listen-only mode. If you have any questions during the webcast, please type them into the Q&A box on your screen. I'll try to answer as many of your questions as possible at the end of the webinar within the allocated 45 minutes. If I can't address your questions during our time today, I'll make sure to get back to you via email. Also, I'll be requesting your feedback on an audience participation poll during this session and a brief survey after the webinar. And thank you in advance for this participation. Today's session will be focused on one of the favorite tools in the Empower vPortal application, the Media Player. For everyone that's been in the application to playback calls, the Media Player is the central tool you've used to play, pause, fast forward, and rewind. These are really standard and intuitive features in our Media Player, so not much tutorial is needed on those. However, there are many other functions that are not quite as apparent that can save you time, keystrokes, and provide pertinent information without having to go into other areas of the application. So for this session today, that's what we're going to focus on, is things that you can do in the Media Player. And we're now going to dive directly into the application. So I'm going to leave the PowerPoint here and now go directly into one of our application demo servers that we've got set up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and log into the system, and we're going to go and take a look at the Media Player. Okay. So as you know, once you select a call, it loads up into the Media Player. As you've likely experienced, you see it and you see it down in the Media Player. And you can see that it has started playing back automatically here. I'll show you how that has occurred. Typically, you would go down into the Media Player and you hit play and your call starts playing and away you go. So since we're down here in the Media Player, let's take a look at some of the Media Player options. Starting from the top of the Media Player screen, you'll see that we can open the Media Player in a new window. This gives you a second window that you can keep open even when you close the main window. So this is really great for keeping a call that you may want to play back several times throughout the day, or if you want to view the Media Player in a full screen. We can go up here and expand and see it in a full screen as well. So with one call, full screen, not really so helpful, doesn't really give us that much of an edge. But if you were looking at multiple calls, and some that might have video, putting it in a new window in full screen could be very beneficial and give you a lot more visibility. And by the way, more and more of our customers are adding screen recording to view their workstation screens that agents are looking at while their calls are being recorded. Most customers record only a small percentage of the screen, approximately 10 to 20% for QA purposes, even when they're recording voice at 100%. So I'm going to go back and select some calls that have multiple, I'm going to select multiple calls that have video as well, and then we're going to go back and open in a new screen and see how beneficial that particular feature is. So here are 3 calls here. I can see that they've all got video as well. So I'm going to select using our multi-select box and load them up into the media player.
Hi, Stephanie.
Now you can see that there's a lot going on here, including some videos that I can't really see too much of. So I'm going to open these in the new window, and I'm going to expand it.
Hi, Stephanie.
And now you'll see that you can much better visibility here. Of course, the video is still over here in the right-hand screen, so now we can kind of show some of the functionality for better visibility. And it's associated with these white boxes that are in the corner of the split screens. So if I click on this white box here, you'll see that it's expanding the media player, or the left-hand side of the screen, for the full width. I can toggle it back. And now if I click the one above the video, it's going to move that into the left-hand side of the screen, and then I can even make that full screen. And now you can see how I have, zoomed into the video. So of course, full screen and opening a new window, you can see how that could be very beneficial. And again, if it was something that you played back often during the day, you could open up that new window and keep it on in the background of your workstation throughout the day, even when closing out the main vPortal window. That way you could go back and reference a call frequently throughout the day without having to go find it, search for it, and play back the media. You're opening it up in a new window. Okay. Now, something else that you'll see here is that the calls that I selected, the multiple calls I selected, they were actually over a couple of day period. So our media player doesn't look very interesting here. That's because it's in the standard view, which is a sequential view on a timeline, I should say. It's in a standard timeline view. Now if I put it in the compact mode, you'll see that it looks a lot better. What's happened here in the compact mode is that the bars are now from start to finish, and we've pretty much squeezed the time. So the timeline, you can see, kind of has gone away because the time association isn't as informative here, but what we've done is we've removed all of the space to make it more usable and shrunk all the dead space between each calls. So also in this view drop-down box here, so you saw the standard, that's the one that's on a timeline. You saw the compact, that's where we compress any dead time between any segments. Now we've got the sequential list. The sequential list is a list of all the calls along with some standard metadata such as time, date, and duration, and it's in text format. So some folks prefer to use this view when playing multiple calls. Also, you'll note that when you change to the sequential view, playback starts immediately. And I don't know if you noticed, but once we play it back, it's also highlighted in the search grid above to highlight what call is being played back, as you see here, so that you can see the association of the call that's playing with the call that's up in the search grid. So kind of now, we're going to go back to our compact mode. That's a mode I like to work in a lot, especially when I have multiple calls over a couple of days duration. So we're going to go up and to the next little item in the top of the media player, which is the settings menu. And from this particular menu, you can see that we've got a single item called Autoplay. So this is a new feature that was brought out in our 5.3.1 release. And when this checkbox is selected, as soon as the audio file is loaded up in the media player, it's played instantly. And that's what you've seen has been happening so far during this demo. Everything's been playing instantly without the need to hit the play button. So at times it's been, it's kind of been a little annoying because it's been going over what I've been talking. So maybe I would want to turn that off if that's the case and wait until I hit play. But if I'm in an environment where I don't want to have any extraneous clicks to start playing my media, especially in something where you need really fast response, I'll want to go ahead and click that autoplay button, and everything, every record that now is played in the media player, regardless of when you've clicked the autoplay box, as long as it's clicked, that will be autoplayed. So until this option is turned off. So this is retained between different records and also between different vPortal sessions. So those are really the couple of things that I wanted to show that are in the top of the media player box. So now let's go down to kind of the lower area of the media player and take a look at some of the functions that we have here. So here's where we have, of course, the familiar play and pause buttons, along with the skip to the end and then the skip back buttons. So these skip buttons can be very helpful to navigate around in a single call, but they become a lot more powerful with multiple calls. So let me show you what I mean. So if we've got multiple calls like we do here that are served up into our media player, if we hit our skip forward button, it actually takes us to the next call. Okay. Likewise, when I hit the skip back, it reverses and goes back to the beginning of each call. So really, when you've got multiple calls, these functions change from what they could do in a single call. Now to the left of this is our rewind button. And of course, this is a great, let's click forward and you can see what this does is it takes us back 5 seconds along the call. So again, very helpful if you want to traverse and use that button to skip forward, or excuse me, to skip back in the call. Now next along the way here is our playback slider, or something that we call our little blue dot. So this little blue dot allows for click and drag access to any time along the media bar. So you can quickly and easily drag this button to any point in the media for playback. Okay? So again, just another kind of little convenient way to move along to get to the area in the audio call that you might want to focus on. Okay? So moving right along kind of to the next area, this is our time indicator. So you'll see that it gives the total recording time on the right and then the playback time on the left. Pretty standard functions. And this is the view that you'll see by default, this particular view. But when you're in a standard mode, you can also click on it and it will toggle and tell you the actual time of the call, okay, and where you are. So if you're playing back somewhere along and maybe we're going, somewhere, maybe we're going to this call that's towards the end here, we can then see what time this call was being played at that time. So again, it's a toggle, gives you the total duration, where you are in the call, and when you toggle, it actually gives you the exact time. So very helpful if you need to note a specific time for when something was said on a recorded call. And that works in our standard mode, because remember, the standard mode is really the mode that gives a lot more information on timelines. The compact mode being a little bit more visual, showing the bars back to back. Okay. So now one really popular feature with our power users that's more hidden than some of the other items is our playback loop. So we've all played back a call where there's something said that's a bit undecipherable. So like listening to a quickly spoken phone number or trying to make out what's being said when there's a lot of background noise, or just clarifying when a speaker is difficult to understand. So if you think you have a call portion that you'll need to play back more than once, it's really nice to set up a playback loop. And it's more convenient than manually going back and forth with the little blue dot or the 5-second rewind. So we actually have bars at the beginning and the end of the media player that we can use to define the loop. So it's actually under the playback indicator bar, so it's a smaller bar here. So we can go and bring it up to an area to begin our loop and to define the end of our loop area. So say we know that in this particular area of the call, something was said that we couldn't really understand or quickly write down the phone number or decipher what somebody was saying. So we can use these bars to pretty much mute out the other areas of the call, and everything in this particular area of the call is going to cycle through until we hit pause. So I'll play back a little bit of this.
Okay, and can I verify your name, please?
Jennifer Smith.
Okay, and can I verify your name, please?
Jennifer Smith.
Okay, a lot of you may recognize the voice of Greg Cummings there. So that's the loop back. Very easy, nice, convenient, mute out the other areas of the call and set up a playback area where it will continue cycling and looping until we hit the pause. Okay, so continuing on, and to get rid of this, of course, you just pull these bars back. Okay. Get rid of that one, and here we go. All right. So moving along, we now have our volume control slider. Nothing fancy here, but it is very convenient to have this function here, rather to go to your workstations to control your volume. And you'd really be surprised how many people don't use this and they're grabbing for the volume on their speakers, or they're going back to their main volume control on their workstation to increase or decrease the volume. But it's right here, nice and convenient on the lower part of your media player. Okay, next in the media player is our magnifying glass. So clicking on the magnifying glass allows you to zoom in on the audio wave form that's displayed in the media player. So this can be really, really beneficial if you are attempting to hone into a particular time in a call. So we'll go ahead and do this. Oh, I have to hit the plus. Let's get rid of this. So I'm hitting the plus, and you can see that we're zooming in more to the call. And if I'm in the standard mode, it's really great because you can actually see the time that we're zooming into, and we can actually zoom in to 1/10 of a second. So it's from 100% to 3,200% of a zoom. So you can really zoom down very, very dense into the call to get to where you need to go. And so you can be very precise. So you know that if something happened at 12:15 and 55 seconds, you can hone right into that area. So another kind of related area that we can also see, which is great to show in a compact view, kind of related. We're going to go back, and you can see we're at 32%. We're going to go back to kind of a normal 100% view. And you can also see here that it might be handy to enlarge the media bar at some point to really see the range and see where a lot of the conversation occurred. So we can go and drop down this bar. So what happens is the cursor turns into that arrow up and down, and we can drag and make the media bar even larger so that you can see when on the energy bar, when more energy or more voice was going on in the call. Okay? That's another kind of zoom capability that's really not down here, but related that I wanted to point out. Okay? So again, you take it and get your cursor to turn into the double arrows, and you can see we shrunk it there. Okay. Okay. So that's another kind of nice thing that we can do. Now moving along, we have our video zoom. So that's the box that's within the box. That's for zooming in the video portion of the media player. So you saw how we also kind of zoomed in by opening into a new window. Well, we can also go ahead and swap the video into the larger portion of the split screen and hit this particular zoom in box, and it also allows us to zoom in And then in some cases, it even gives you more zoom than you can do in the full screen view. Okay. So then if we want to go back, of course, we can click it back and go back to our normal. So this particular box here, that is our zoom. And you can see here, it's even zoomed over here on the right-hand side. But again, you know, in the split screen, when it's in the smaller area, that doesn't give us a lot of visibility. Okay. So that's what we're seeing here. Okay. So moving along, we also have our full screen view. So this is very similar to opening up in a new window and expanding that window, except this is not a separate window that we can house on our desktop and minimize the normal vPortal screen. So this is taking over, covering up anything else in the vPortal screen, allowing us to then, of course, do the same things that we did before with our particular zoom in features and changing our visibility in the split screen. Okay, and you get rid of that either by clicking back on the full screen quadrant of arrows there, or you can also hit the escape bar. Okay, so the last thing kind of down in this particular menu area is our little question mark. So clicking this button provides a legend giving you all of the different colors and representations. Let's put this in the full screen, you can see it better. But here is a legend telling you what the color bars mean for the media elements. And here, if you're a fact finder user, it might give you information about application packs and also some modifier icons. So it's a quick and easy way to perhaps answer some of the questions you might have regarding icons or colors that you're seeing in the media player. Okay, so now moving into the media bar itself, I'd like to point out the media player action pop-up box. So by left-clicking on your cursor button, the pop-up box provided allows for various actions to be taken along the media bar. So from here, you can play a call. So, you know, if you happen to, you know, be over here, you can go ahead and hit the left bar, click on your mouse and play back from here without having to do any moving of the little blue dot or play button. You can go ahead and play from here. Likewise, if you had multiple calls that were served up and they were from different agents, perhaps for the same kind of incident, you could go ahead and mute one of the calls if you wanted to not have the talkover of two calls at the same time. So this is a really nice thing to do too. You would go up to whatever bar you wanted to mute and hit the mute button, okay? And that would just mute the one particular audio piece, okay? Also from here, you can see you can add comments and attachments. So adding comments or attachments here in the media player is associated with a specific time in the call. So this is really great for identifying where in the call an event has occurred or for pointing out where a manager should start playback, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go over here, and I, as an agent, at this point in the interaction, something occurred that I want to point out. So I'm going to, you know, tell my manager to, you know, start playback here. And that particular, I'm going to mark it as sensitive, and I'll tell you what that means here. And you'll see that the comment, then when you start playing back, the comment will show up in this part of the media player, again, right at that particular time. And marking sensitive, what that means is that only users with the appropriate administrative privileges to view sensitive comments will be able to see the comment. So it adds another level of security in case you don't want all of your users to be able to listen to comments or see the comments that other agents have given. Okay. Likewise, from here, we can add attachments. So adding attachments, again, associated with a specific time in the call. This is great, again, for allowing documents to be loaded and stored along with the media record to keep everything in place. So Both of these things, comments and attachments, can also be added in the above search grid. You'll see here, this is actually right here. This is our attachment column here, and this is our comment column. So you can go ahead and add an attachment or add a comment up in the search grid, but those attachments and comments will not be time associated with the call, but will just be with the record itself. So if it's not time specific, that's a good way to add it. If there's a comment or attachment that is time specific, it's great to add it down into the media player. Okay, also now what I'd like to show you is a new feature, and it's kind of one of the last topics that I'm going to talk about today, is called Redaction. It's a new, very powerful feature that came out in our 5.3 release. It's an audio and video editing feature that provides the capability to manually add silence over a subset of audio or video for the purpose of masking sensitive sections of an interaction. So this is accomplished in a non-destructive technique where the authenticity of the original file remains in place. So using redaction in combination with a pack-and-go export really provides an ideal way to send a call to an outside party where some sections of the audio or video need to be masked or muted. So you can do this for sending things outside of the organization, or we're also seeing customers use this feature to cover up personal information in when saving calls to use as training examples. So if there's a great call that an agent has done that a manager wants to use as an ideal call situation for new agents, but they don't want the agent's identification seen, or maybe other personal information about the incoming call, they can pretty much mask and mute that information and then provide it to them in a link or in any of our other export ways. So there's 5 steps to redact a record, and we're going to go through that now. So it starts up from the action menu. So you go to Redact, and we're going to select the files that I've got here. So I've actually got 4 interactions here. So I'm going to select these 4, because these are the 4 that I'm going to create into a new interaction. I'm going to give it a name. Okay, and I'm going to save that interaction. And what this does is I've manually created an interaction of those other 4 interactions. And you can do this whether or not you're using interactions, or if you're using video, just using audio or just using video. You can combine audio segments into an interaction, and then by selecting the interaction that you've created, it's going to load up that particular series of segments into our media player. And now I can move along the place on the media bar where I want to add silence. So say it's somewhere here at the beginning of the call, some personal information was given that I don't want others to be able to hear a playback when I export the call or provide this call as an example. So I'm going to go, and then on my left-hand click, I bring up my little media player action box, and I hit Redact. So now you can see here, this is bringing up kind of an area where I now can adjust and move over the area along the call that I want to add the silence, okay? And we do this separately for video and separately for audio. And there's kind of a reason for that. There may be in some cases where you want more silence more muting of the screen than silence on the audio. And I'll show you how to do that. So once you've got it pretty much the area defined, you hit the accept key. And even from here, if you want to hone in, you can play around with the seconds if you want to be even more granular, and you can change the time here as well. If using the slider is not sensitive enough to give you the time that you want. You can also add a comment here. So you can put personal information, and this is what you're adding silence to, and hit our OK button. So you can see here that when this call is played back, and we'll do it for you, you'll see that this area will be muted. Likewise, if we want to mask the video, the screen capture that was associated with this call, we can also do that. And perhaps that personal information is shown on the screen a lot longer than it was discussed in the audio. So I'm going to make the screen masking a little bit longer than I did the audio muting. So I'm going to hit accept here, and again, I can hit OK. And so now you'll see we have added this silence. So upon playback, you'll see what happens.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Greg. I'd like you to do some research on our agents in the customer care center. There are some openings in the supervisor level that I'd like to.
Okay, so you can see that the call now has been muted, and you can see the big block that this is the area of the screen that's now been masked. So again, this is a new interaction. So now this interaction can be exported into a media link for training. It can be exported into a pack and go, which gives you the fully enclosed executable if you needed to send it to any other compliance or legal purposes outside of the organization. You can do it this way. So it's a really nice new feature that's been long awaited for on the VPI system. And so hopefully you'll find some benefit from using it. Won't have to export calls and use some other kind of editing tool to do some simple masking and muting of your recording. So I hope this webinar has been informative and that you've learned some new media player tips beyond play, pause, and rewind. Among the things that we've demoed today are the different views of calls in the media player with standard, compact, and sequential views, how to zoom in on the audio bar and video recording, how to autoplay your calls by using that new checkbox, autoplay, in the settings area of the media player. We've also showed you how to set up a playback loop and how to redact a call. So for more information on any of this, or if you want information about how to upgrade to our latest release or add any other application modules or take advantage of screen recording, please contact your sales rep. I'm going to get that for you right back here on the screen here. You can contact your sales rep or our account manager, Renee, and she can get you more information.